man smiling, teeth from here to here, and he had his chain on his little kid, on his son.
Grease explained that 50 touted his victory over Ja Rule at the time.
$5 million in damages for assault and battery, as well as harm to his reputation from the 2015 beatdown, for which 40 received a $33,000 award and an additional $200,000 in 2017. Although rappers had long been at odds, the feud between Rondo and Lil Durk really heated up after Chicago's death. On November 6, 2020, rapper King Von Von was murdered in a gunshot outside an Atlanta nightclub. It was believed that the incident started as a physical argument between King Von's. 50 Cent, a rapper with a reputation for being aggressive and blunt, got wind of the situation. At the time, 50 was already known for his gritty street style and his no-holds-barred approach to both rap and personal beefs. He wasted no time in addressing Ja Rule in his own way. 50 Cent released a diss track called Life's on the Line, in which he ridiculed Ja Rule for the loss of his chain. In this track, 50 didn't hold back, mocking Ja for getting jacked in his own neighborhood. However, it was the unreleased version of this track that really added fuel to the fire. This version included some of the most savage lyrics, where 50 Cent directly attacked Ja Rule's masculinity and street credibility. 50 Cent's track wasn't just a lyrical attack, it was a personal one. The insult didn't just focus on the stolen chain, but also cast doubt on Ja Rule's authenticity and his ability to protect his own reputation. 50's aggressive and cutting style struck a nerve, and what started as an incident of street rivalry quickly snowballed into an all-out war between two of hip-hop's most high-profile figures. Jack. A video of the shooting's aftermath later appears on social media, capturing Megan slowly backing up to police while her leg is bleeding out on the street. Days after the shooting, Megan took to her Instagram page to tell her followers that she had suffered gunshot wounds that required surgery but didn't provide any explanation. Instead, she implied that the gun may have been fired by another woman who they claim was upset that the two rappers had been intimate with each other. A well-planned attack against 40 Glock in a 35-second video that the game recorded and posted. The rapper shows how he beats his opponent severely with his iPhone in one hand while pursuing him through the streets of Los Angeles. When Game finally catches 40, he unleashes a barrage of powerful blows on him while still holding the iPhone in the other hand. Make it happen, Game says. Get next game and forever other for the youth of Los Angeles against 40 Glock. As the blows get more intense, 40 turns over and falls to his knees. And behind him, voices can be heard begging Game to stop the punishment. So, this is a document. Allegedly gave law enforcement the video footage of the fight to help with their investigation. Meanwhile, shortly after the incident, Allison Elbow Stegel, Drake's spokeswoman at the time, released a statement denying Drake was involved in any wrongdoing. She also emphasized that Drake was leaving the club when the fight began and that he had nothing to do with it. Almost at the same time, Jeff Raymond, Brown's spokesperson, released a statement asserting that Brown was any further information, but as the rumors and conjecture surrounding the shooting intensified, Megan made the decision to finally clear the air and disclose that the shooter was Tory Lanez. At that point, Lanez had already been taken into custody and charged with hiding a firearm in the car. Later, Lanez would address the matter in his rap lyrics, which implied a contradictory account, saying, "We both know what happened that night and what I did, but it ain't what they saying." After a very tumultuous trial, Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison. It wasn't just about the music either, the beef turned physical. Both Ja Rule and 50 Cent were constantly surrounded by street crews and entourages, and their conflicts would spill over into real-life altercations. There were reports of fights, confrontations at clubs, and even shots being fired, though there was never definitive proof that either rapper was directly involved in the violence that erupted around them. What Soulja Boy then ran through the lengthy list of collaborators as evidence that Blueface wouldn't stand a chance in the proposed battle. As the two were reunited a year later when Rock claimed on Instagram that Blueface had ambushed her and punched her in the face. In the live video, Rock displayed what appeared to be bloody evidence all over her car and Blueface's knuckles. She then informed her followers that she would not be leaving Blueface's driveway until the police arrived to take him to jail. Moreover, her testimony is threatening to Blueface's driveway until the police arrived to take him to jail. In response, Blueface said she had arrived at his house unexpectedly and was driving their child without a car seat. back and forth and went right for one another's throats, and it was all due to the mid-2000s Drake feud between Rihanna, Drake, and Chris Brown. Around 2008, Chris Brown and Rihanna were good pals. Chris Brown and Rihanna started dating, but during one of their several breakups, their relationship had its share of ups and downs. Around 2009, Drake and Rihanna started dating, which sparked a jealousy-fueled conflict between Brown and himself. When Drake and Brown parted ways, the dispute swiftly became violent. Behind the scenes, Irv Gotti played a key role in escalating the tension between Ja Rule and 50 Cent. As the head of Murder Inc., Gotti had long been a mentor to Ja Rule, and he saw the feud with 50 Cent as something personal. Irv Gotti was also known for his controversial public persona and his association with criminal elements in the industry. Both of them pleaded guilty to many charges of racketeering conspiracy after Tekashi 69 and his group followed Trippie to the hotel, where they assaulted him after the peace meeting. Crimes involving firearms and drug trafficking rapper Blueface returns to our list, but this time he's embroiled in a vicious feud with his male counterpart Soulja Boy. After Tekashi 69 was given a 2-year jail term, Blueface's declaration that he would defeat Soulja Boy seemed to start an animosity between the two, caused the hostility against Rule, although others claim he was envious of GAU. Despite RU's quicker ascent to popularity at the moment, the two rappers would finally meet up at a huge performance in New York in late 1999. Things immediately get out of hand, and the two end up fighting until 50 of them break away, with the rules chained. In a previous conversation between Dame Grease and MWCK, the former remarks on 50 seeing Ja Rule's chain, and 50 spends the following several weeks ridiculing Rule by wearing the contentious chain around the hood. Defris. Did on November 30th, 1994, Tupac was shot outside Quad Recording Studios in Times Square, according to reports. Tupac was called up to the studio by Biggie's affiliated rapper Lil C.E. When he arrived at the studio, Tupac was shot, beaten, and robbed of his jewelry. Tupac later found out that Biggie and Diddy were inside the building during the attack, leading him to believe they were behind the shooting. Days later, Tupac will end up in prison for sexual abuse. It was there that he and Death Row Records' S-Hatch vowed. Despite the years of public animosity, in recent years, there have been some attempts at reconciliation. In 2018, during an interview, 50 Cent admitted that the feud had gone on too long and that he regretted some of the things that had happened. He even mentioned that it might be time for the two to move on, dragged him to the ground, causing them to continue fighting on the ground. In retaliation, Blueface pulled her chain off her neck before some onlookers stepped in and managed to end the fight. Surprisingly, Blueface and Chrissy and Rock went home together after the vicious altercation. But a short while later, Blueface took to Instagram to post a video of his injuries. He also disclosed how the fight began, claiming to have looked through Rock's phone and discovered she, Encouragement, and Quando Vaughn. The police swiftly identified Rondo's associate, Lil Tim, as the one who pulled the trigger that killed V during the trial. Throughout the trial, Rondo supported El Tim and even made fun of Vaughn's death on multiple occasions, which infuriated Lil Durk, a close friend of the late King Von, who eventually became embroiled in a heated argument with Rondo. The feud between prior to Card's entry into the rap scene, Nicki was the undisputed queen of the genre for women. However, her position was suddenly threatened when Card's debut single performed better than Nicki had ever imagined in almost 10 years of her career. The song had not even reached its peak when Nicki Minaj's fans, known as Barbs, started hurling insults at Card. At the time, it had been almost 3 years since Nicki had released an album, Attentions, but the final straw was when it was revealed that Migos had added Cardi to the song without first talking to Nicki, and that Nicki's verse expressed his desire to cut ties with the label while describing himself as a prisoner whose creativity was being curtailed. He wrote, "I want off this label and nothing to do with these people, but unfortunately it ain't that easy." Things will get more intense between Lil Wayne and Birdman over the next couple of months. In January 2015, the Lollipop rapper announced a $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money Lil Wayne, then took the fight public, sending out a series of disses and verbal assaults to Birdman during an April 2015 concert. Lil Wayne fans started trending the Vaughn #slide, which was an appeal for Durk to get revenge for his friend's murder on August 19, 2022. In the days that followed, a shooter assaulted Rhonda at a gas station close to the Beverly Center Mall. The assailant fired at least 18 shots into Rondo's car, killing a victim who was subsequently identified as Rondo's cousin, El Po. 2 years after the shooting, Lil Durk produced a song that not only made fun of El Po's passing, but also suggested that he could have been involved. Along with Lil Durk, for Ja Rule, the beef with 50 Cent will always be a part of his legacy, but it has also become something of a cautionary tale. The fight between these two rappers illustrates how personal vendettas and street-level issues can explode into high-profile public disputes with lasting consequences for everyone involved. Ultimately, Ja Rule and 50 Cent's conflict serves as a reminder of the extreme pressures and complexities of the hip-hop industry, where fame, ego, and street reputations often collide in destructive ways. For the murder of El Po, he and 5 other members of his family crew were taken into custody. For the next rapper on our list, L. Durk's trial is scheduled to start on January 7th. In the case of the L. Durk murder, things almost ended in death. Like most rap feuds, Tekashi 69 and Trippie Redd began as pals until things took a turn for the worse. The two rappers even collaborated on 2 projects in 2017. The first was called Poles and was released in April. Grease claimed that during a studio session at the Hit Factory, one of the guys entered and started banging on another rapper. He smiled from head to head and had his chain on his young son. Grease explained that 50 had announced his victory over Ja Rule at the time, and he said, "I just took all I remember now. I'm like, yo son, you crazy. I'm like, I don't even know who you is, but that's G, you know what I'm saying." Actually, that was 50, according to reports. J. Rule. _ your wife, we bust on bad boys _ for life. This was the peak of their feud, and rumors began to spread that both groups were out for each other. Tupac was eventually murdered in September 1996, barely 3 months after dropping Hit Him Up, but there is no evidence to show that Biggie or Diddy had a hand in Pac's death. Biggie was killed in a drive-by shooting on March 99, 1997. Both murders remain unsolved. Next on our list, we take a look at how a battle for supremacy between 2 Southern rappers turned into a full-on. In 1999, Ja Rule was on the rise as part of the Inc., formerly Murder Inc. with Irv Gotti, and had just started to establish himself as a major player in the rap game. Ja's success at the time was fueled by catchy hooks, tough guy persona, and a signature blend of street-oriented rap and melodic hooks. However, his success didn't come without its share of conflict. In retrospect, the rivalry had lasting effects on both artists' careers. While 50 Cent emerged as the more commercially successful artist, Ja Rule's career, which had started out so strong, saw a significant decline. His albums failed to generate the same level of attention or sales, and he found himself sidelined as 50 Cent took center stage in the hip-hop world. In September 2022, 40 Glock sat down with Adam 22 to share his own story of what happened that fateful day. In the long interview, 40 stressed that the recorded fight was never one-on-one, but rather the result of a large-scale jumping. 40 then described how the game had a gun pointing at his head at one point, forcing him to beg for his life and submit to the beating. The rapper then sued the game for dollars. Irv's involvement wasn't just about defending Ja Rule, was conversing with other males. He also said that he made her an offer of money to end their relationship, but she declined it in a similar manner. 2 months later, Chrissy and Rock used Instagram Live to display the wounds she had received in a further altercation with Blueface. When the rapper stated that she was clearly distressed and had tears streaming down her cheek. "This is a broken nose and a broken lip. You're lying, you strange jerk," Rock continued by disclosing that the incident was caused by her messaging a male. Live in Miami, the rapper was reportedly drenched with drinks thrown at him from the VIP section. It was alleged that Birdman and his crew were seated in the section of the VIP where the drinks were thrown around. That time, an indictment claimed Birdman and Young Thug planned the attack on Lil Wayne's tour bus. Nevertheless, Birdman and Young Thug were never charged with any crime, and Lil Wayne would eventually reconcile with Birdman in August 2018. From here, we explore the feud that destroyed 2 of "My mama man, all that internet," he exclaimed on Instagram Live, demanding that Blueface share his address so they could meet and die, ____. "After all that back and forth, let's die, meet up, and die as soon as possible. Let's meet now. Whenever you see this live, just DM me the Addy and we'll be done. There won't be any fight though, because Blueface joked that the Soulja Boy's threats wouldn't be taken seriously." And next rappers on this list avoided social media altogether. Over time, the animosity between Ja Rule and 50 Cent eventually simmered down, although the scars of their conflict remained. Both rappers would go on to release more music, though Ja Rule's career would never fully recover from the damage done by the 50 Cent beef. He is set to be released in 2033 and may be eligible for parole in 2029. More recently, Megan filed a restraining order against Lanez, accusing him of continuing to harass her online from behind bars and subjecting her to repeated trauma and re-victimization. Next up, we have a father-son relationship that turned bitter and almost got bloody. Lil Wayne versus Birdman. Lil Wayne and Birdman had an enviable enviable father-son relationship that was nothing like the music world had ever experienced, unsurprisingly. Their perfect rap world's greatest, turning them from friends into music's biggest rivals. Tupac versus Notorious' biggest rivals, Tupac and Biggie were two of the most talented rappers on the scene in the 90s, and that meant they naturally gravitated towards each other. However, the fact that they belonged to different coasts meant that their worlds were destined to collide in an unfriendly manner. Things turned sour between the two rappers when Biggie warned Tupac about his friendship with Jack Haitian Jack Agne and Jimmy Hinchman, but Biggie's warnings fell on rappers. Of the 12th of 2020, Tory, Lanez, and Megan Thee Stallion got into a heated argument after leaving a pool party at Kylie Jenner's house in Los Angeles. Lanez and Megan drove away from the party in an SUV with some of their friends, and during the argument, Lanez became angry with Megan after she made fun of his rap skills. When Lanez shot at Megan's feet, she yelled and jumped out of the car they were in and started to leave. However, Lanez's defense team denied this, claiming that Lanez never relationship ultimately translated into success in the music industry, earning the duo much-deserved accolades amongst their colleagues. However, everything they worked so hard to achieve was flushed down the drain when the pair got involved in a 3-year saga in which they aired their dirty laundry for all to see. This all began in 2014 when, out of nowhere, Lil Wayne took to Twitter to call out Birdman in a series of rant tweets, accusing him of being responsible for the delay in the release of his album The Carter V. Lil Wayne also, shortly after the altercation, Cardi took to Instagram to post a lengthy post referencing the fight without mentioning Nicki by name. She said that she was sparked because her mothering skills were being questioned. The rapper also threw a shoe at Nicki and was later seen leaving the event with a bump on her head. The message read partially, "But when you mentioned my kid, you decided to like remarks against me as a mother and my capacity to care for my daughter." At that point, everything changed, and Nicki and Cardi have sleeping with Blueface's ex-girlfriend Christian Rock and his then-girlfriend Jaden Alexis while on Instagram Live. Soulja Boy also repeatedly threatened to attack Blueface and challenged him to a fight. Eventually, the two agreed on a meeting place, but Blueface claimed Soulja Boy never showed up at the scheduled time, 1469, and the second collaboration in July was called OE. However, after a Twitter user claimed that Tekashi 69 was a pedophile, Trippie denounced Tekashi 69, which led to a social media feud between the two rappers that lasted for several months until Trippie was attacked in a New York hotel lobby on November 11, 2017. After the attack, Trippie Red blamed Tekashi 69 and his crew for the attack in an Instagram live video. The two continued to spar on social media in February and March 2018. Tekashi 69 40 Glock was one of the most interesting. In this article about the relationship between the two, the rapper called out the Jay-Z feud with 40 and Risky O'Brien, especially about Dylan having nominated 40 Glock in the past to be the VP of Hardware, and Risky O'Brien also receiving that. Throughout the years, the two rappers have never concealed their intense animosity for one another, but in July 2012, when the game planned, the conflict between Ja Rule and 50 Cent didn't simmer down. It only got hotter. Both artists began to release diss tracks aimed at each other, and the public feud took on a life of its own. Ja Rule, never one to back down from a challenge, responded with a track of his own called Clapback. This song was filled with fiery words directed at 50 Cent, mocking his upbringing, his struggles, and his perceived tough guy persona. In the years that followed, the rivalry between Ja Rule and 50 Cent would come to define much of their respective careers. Both rappers would continue to take shots at one another, using their music, interviews, and even their public personas as battlegrounds. The feud between Ja Rule and 50 Cent is one of the most legendary and intense conflicts in the history of hip-hop. It all began in the late 1990s and carried on for years, dragging other key figures into the drama and ultimately leading to some of the most notorious diss tracks, street confrontations, and public insults. The story behind this beef is long, complicated, and messy, involving betrayal, violence, personal vendettas, and of course, the ego clashes of two of hip-hop's most prominent artists at the time. The feud would continue to fuel public speculation, media reports, and even legal battles for years. As 50 Cent's career took off with the release of Get Rich or Die Tryin' in 2003, his victory in the beef seemed more and more apparent. His music topped the charts, and his own label G Unit became a dominant force in the industry. The initial spark of the feud began when Ja Rule found himself in an altercation involving a member of the Southside Queens crew, which later would be associated with 50 Cent. The story goes that a Southside acquaintance of Ja Rule's, who was upset about something that had allegedly occurred during a prison bid, confronted Ja. The man reportedly felt that Ja had somehow disrespected him, and as a form of retribution, he took Ja's chain, The unreleased version was particularly harsh, containing lines like, "Why do you get jacked in your own neighborhood? Why does the robber Nas act like everything is fine? Why did you go to PR to get your L chain back? Why won't you come to me since you know I'll push your the rap. Since 2020, the couple has been dating intermittently, although their relationship has been marred by several arguments and scandals. On August 2, 2022, one of their most contentious moments occurred when the couple was seen fighting in the street. In video that TMZ was able to obtain, Blueface and Rock were seen strolling down a street in Hollywood, California, when Rock abruptly threw the first punch. The fight continued on the heavily populated sidewalk as they continued to trade blows, and at one point, Rock tore Blueface's shirt, and their spouses were even drawn into the feud in 2023 when Nicki's husband Kenneth Petty shared a video of him and his crew wandering around New York, seemingly looking for Offset. Offset laughed off the threat, and a judge slapped Petty with a probation violation and placed him under house arrest. Next up is a rap cover who frequently discusses their relationship issues in public. Blueface versus Chrisean Rock. The connection between Blueface and Chris Rock is among the most peculiar in the rap industry. This act of disrespect was, to say the least, something that Ja Rule couldn't let slide. Not only was it an issue of pride for the rapper, but losing his chain was a violation of the street codes he held dear. Ja then decided to assemble his crew to get revenge and reclaim his chain. But before things could escalate further, Ja made an attempt at resolving the situation by contacting a mutual party, a move that would play a part in the deeper conflict. To take down Diddy and Biggie's rival label Bad Boy Records, while Tupac was in jail, Biggie released the song Who's Shota, which many believe was aimed at Tupac in response. Tupac blasted the Bad Boy rapper, claiming that Biggie's style was a ripoff of his own. Tupac also claimed he slept with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans, and the song hit him up. The song begins with Tupac rapping, "I ain't got no for your friends, that's why I fool you be, you fat mother." Further into the song, Pac gets more personal and direct as he raps. "You claim to be a player, but I claim to be in your pocket. You claim to be my friend, but to your mouth I walk only your music. The rainbow is not a river." While riding on the wave of his accomplishments, he began calling himself the King of the South. This didn't go down well with some of his Southern colleagues, especially Lil Flip, who publicly rejected that claim as usual. This led to back and forth between both rappers that only got more intense when T.I. was sent to jail in 2004 for violating the terms of his probation. This stemmed from a 1998 conviction for violating a State-Controlled Substances Act and for giving false information between 2004 and 2005. The two Southern rappers continued to trade shots at each other through their various songs and mixtapes. The beef eventually came to a head when T.I. made an appearance on Houston radio station 97, release it on his next mixtape. Ultimately, the two eventually ended up squashing their beef in 2013 during a sit-down that had Rap AOT founder Jay Prince playing the role of mediator. While talking about the peace meeting, Lil Flop said, "What we said was at an undisclosed location and cooler heads prevailed. You know, at the end of the day, it was some petty, that's what grown men do, sit down and figure this out." The meeting was successful, and both T.I. and Lil Flip agreed to put their differences aside and continue with their respective rap careers. There you have it, the craziest rappers fight the entertainment scenery has ever witnessed. If you enjoyed this clip and wouldn't mind more of such content, click on the card showing on the screen.